So one of the lessons I learned while I was before I left United was I remember having dinner with Glenn Tilton, the chairman at the time, who's was a great, I would say, mentor for me, but a great leader. And we were talking about boards and board meetings, and I said, I found it very interesting seeing the way that some board members seem to contribute much more than others. And he said, yeah, it's a really interesting subject because they've all got a lot to say. They've all got tremendous experience, and we haven't got time to hear it all. And he said, I think he said I'm on three or four other boards, but he said, I think about it that, first of all, when you get briefing materials, make ahead of the meeting, make sure you read them and you understand them. And preferably give a call to the chairman or whoever to just discuss them and what's important, what does he really want to get done at the meeting, and then from your probably 20 questions that briefing materials might prompt, try and synthesize those down to just the two or three things which you think are critical that either you can contribute or you think need to be made in the discussion or the debate or the decision before it's made. And I thought that was really interesting because, I think one of the transitions is if you go to an executive business meeting, you're sort of contributing all the time. It's a sort of back and forth and discussion. Board meetings tend not to be like that because they're at a higher level, they're important decisions, and you can't possibly put all the information on the table. So the idea of synthesis of information and synthesis of your contribution is, I think, a really important element of that. So, but the other lesson, the other or coincidence, I should say, was coming out of this that right at the end of this time at United, I went to a charity. I think it was may have been the Cancer Gala in Chicago, and we were at a table with some of the United directors and some other of the senior executives. And one of the board members said to me, he said, "So what are you going to do, Graham?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. I was at the age where I could retire if I wanted to, quite comfortably, but I felt somehow, I was going to be leaving not on my terms in a way because of a takeover." And he said, "Well, I think you should look at should look at something." And I said, "Well, that sounds like a leading question or comment." And he said, "Well, I'm actually very friendly with the chairman of Walgreens, and they're looking to reinvent their marketing department." And to cut a long story short, what I thought might be an interesting 3-month, 6-month consulting opportunity turned into a 3-year career. And I think it also taught me that as I got to know Walgreens, I thought, well, I know nothing about healthcare. I know nothing about Walgreens retail business. But the CEO at the time, sort of reassured me very much that they what they were looking for to get out of me wasn't to tell them which prescriptions they should fill at what price. They were actually looking for how do we get to know our customers better. They really didn't do a very good job of capturing customer data. They had no loyalty program at the time, which of course I'd been running towards the end of my career as the president of Mileage Plus. And so, the connection that they made with my capabilities to contribute to them was not necessarily what I thought they were going to be as I walked into the interview. And I think it taught an important lesson that clearly you need to be authentic, but you do need to think about sometimes the way you see yourself and how you might present yourself isn't necessarily the way that they see you, in a good way, that they see other attributes. And as if to emphasize that, once I had been to Walgreens, was on the board of this British company, Monarch. I had a couple of other opportunities from executive recruiters a couple in Chicago who just called me up and said, we've got this opportunity. Are you interested? And those years of them calling me saying, we'd like to do some business and do you need to hire anyone? Certainly turned head over tails, really. And so, I mean, one of the pieces of advice is that